Hey, welcome back to the Confidad podcast. Again, my name's Dan Tinquist, your host. So glad to have you here with us today. Let's begin today, like we do every episode, with our fatherhood mindset. I'm the only one who can fulfill the father role I have, so I choose to do it well. I get to show up well for my kids. Imperfection is reality. Ownership is a choice. Today is brand new, and so is tomorrow. I am wholly loved, so I will love wholly. Stoked to have you here today as we are beginning what is Module 4 within my course. And really today I want to just give you an overview of what's to come. Within Module 4, we have our family culture framework, which includes the core family culture builders, which we've talked about a few of them. We've talked about service and we've talked about adventure, but we'll also cover in this upcoming weeks, we will cover contribution and a little bit more on connection and the importance of emotional connection and security within your family bonds. There's a great book by Oliver Burkeman called 4,000 Weeks. And the idea is most humans live for only 4,000 weeks. In his book, he breaks down this assumption that usually when he asks people, how many weeks do you think the average human life is? People will come away with crazy things like 10,000, 30,000, like just big numbers of so many weeks, which creates this illusion that we have all the time in the world. And I don't know about you, but because our culture has become so distant from death, like we've sanitized death, right? It's no longer a part of our everyday lives because people die in the hospital. They don't die at home anymore. Then they move the body from the hospital to the morgue, and then from the morgue to the funeral home, and from the funeral home to a casket, and they get it all looking pretty and ready. And then you go to a funeral and you maybe view the body for a few moments, and then we put the body in the ground, and then it's done. And that's just very, very modern. Okay, we'll talk more about kind of how to talk about death with kids and why I think that having those uncomfortable conversations about the quote unquote ugly things of life is more important to create that safe space for your kids to wrestle with it within your home and even around your dinner table than it is for them to find out about it in other places. But I digress. Back to the 4,000 weeks idea that Oliver Burkeman mentions. So if the average human lifespan is 4,000 weeks, how many weeks do our kids on average spend in our home? Well, in 18 years, there are 938 weeks. Most of us don't have like a newborn, right? We're coming into these conversations when our kids are 2, maybe 7, 10, somewhere in there, maybe even later. For an 8-year-old, they only have 520 more weeks in your home till they're 18. How about a 12-year-old? This hits home for me. 312 weeks left before my 12-year-old launches from my home. And for most of us who are living week to week in the hustle and the bustle of the busy and saying yes to every opportunity because we don't want to say no to opportunities for our kids, we're living that week to week grind, and it is mind-blowing to think I only have 312 more weeks with my oldest. Crazy. So for you, where does that put you? How many more weeks do you have in your kid's life where they're going to be at home with you? Maybe you already have some that you've launched. Like, this creates a sense of urgency to say, I don't have all the time in the world. I don't have all the time to figure out what it looks like to become the dad that my kids need. Here's what is at the core of our family culture framework. We equip you with tactics to begin to understand what kind of territory do my kids occupy, right? I think about it like this. The pioneers, when they set out and they came to the western part of the United States, they were able to have stakes, and they staked out their territory and they said, okay, well, this is mine. If you've seen Yellowstone or the other one before it, those shows talk about and show kind of how the pioneers did this. They went out and they staked out their territory and they said, okay, this is ours. We're going to establish a life here and build a legacy here. And I say, let's use that same kind of concept to understand what is the territory that our kids are occupying. What kind of personality do they have? What kind of strengths do they have? What kind of interests do they have? What kind of occupations or professions, careers, fit within the territory of their gift mix? What kind of friendships will they have? What kind of activities will they do? That's the territory, right? And once we have that territory, kind of establishing that boundary, we understand that it's our job to till up the soil that is there in that territory and grow the good seeds. So as we till and as we grow, this is the cyclical piece of parenting where we try opportunities, we try things with our kids, and we try to understand what are the best things, activities or disciplines or instruments or things for them to learn. What disciplines within school are they going to excel at? And as you till that ground up and try finding the way to get to these good seeds that have been planted in them, now it's time to figure out what kind of environment do we create in our home to make their seeds grow strong as they can before they leave, before they launch. Okay? We use the 4 family culture builders to do this in order to find the territory, to till up the ground, to grow it, to really dig into who our kids are. You see, the time well spent method in connecting with our kids is establishing a baseline to say, okay, this is how we interact day in, day out. And then as we zoom out and we look weeks ahead, months ahead, years ahead, how are we going to create a home for our kids where our specific kids are going to thrive? Because in someone else's home, maybe my kid, the personality they have, the gift mix that they have, everything that they have within them, it wouldn't thrive so well, maybe even 2 houses down, because that house, hopefully, is set up for those kids to thrive in. All right, so this is where we take our blinders, we put them on, and we say, I'm not going to compare myself to other families and figure out what are they doing, and, oh, we have to keep up with the Joneses, and if we say no to this opportunity of off-season training for their sport or year-round basketball or year-round hockey or doing 3 plays every year and always continuing to be in musical theater because they're just so great at it, like finding the rhythms of rest and work within your family. We do this ourselves during hockey season. It is all out. Every single night, almost, we're at the rink, and when we're not, we rest well. We take deep breaths. We go, oh, thank you. This is a great night to reconnect as a family, to be in and chill and just be together. And then we hit the ground running and we're back at the rink for 17 nights in a row again. And then between hockey season and baseball season, we have this natural gap. And often we travel in our natural gaps between sports. Even last fall, we said to our kids in the middle of baseball season, so middle of early summer, we said, would you guys want to not play a sport in the fall so we can just kind of rest as a family? And our older 2 who were playing travel ball said, we love this, but yeah, I think it's time to just take a breath. And so we did for 6 weeks. We didn't do anything, and we found out what does it look like for our family to rest. I'll tell you this, 6 weeks is a little long for us to not have something on the calendar multiple nights a week. We just like to go, and that's okay. Some families I know, they don't like to go. And so if you don't know your kids, you won't know what kind of culture to create within your home. Now, I don't say this from a place of having it all figured out. We have some things figured out, but we're still working on some weekly rhythms that we would like to incorporate into our family, some spiritual rhythms that are lacking, some other things around music and the arts that we would love to incorporate into our family that we see are good seeds that have been planted. We're like, man, you're good at this. How do we partner with you in growing that seed as well? So I hope it's getting clear to understand, each kid is going to occupy a different territory. It's our job to go to that territory, to till up the ground, to find the good seeds, to pull the weeds, and to grow the good things that they have growing. Within the family culture framework, we have built in monthly, quarterly, and yearly rhythms that build in those 4 core culture builders: the service, the adventure, the contribution, and the connection. Okay? We have a weekly family meeting. It's a rock in the river. Everything else flows around it. Encourage you to do the same, where you meet, you talk about what are we grateful for? What kind of things made us sad this week? What kind of things made us excited this week? What kind of things are we scared about? Emotional literacy is something that lacks in so many families. We teach physical fitness and we teach academic achievement, and we are all about our brains and our bodies growing, right? We want to hit those milestones. But as we look at social interaction and emotional intelligence, we really are lacking because we don't have the words to talk about what are we feeling. And that's part of how we build in throughout the time well spent method. What are you feeling? That's why we say, what made you scared today? What made you sad today? What made you excited today? It builds in these emotional vocabulary words that they can then begin to understand how they're feeling and express that. When's the last time you created space for your kids to talk about what they're feeling and you're not judging them or giving them unsolicited advice? Do you remember a time? Because until I was trained in that, until I was told that that's a really important thing for our kids, I never did. I was like, no, I'm your dad. I'm supposed to teach you right from wrong, and I'm supposed to correct you when you're wrong and give you advice every step of the way. No. Sometimes they just want us to listen without judging. The family culture framework helps you learn how to create rhythms and patterns and predictable places for your kids to know dad's going to show up in this space and he's not going to judge me. He's going to listen to me. He's not going to give me advice without me asking. And he's just going to hold that space for me to be me, whatever's going on, and understand that that is an important part of human psychological development. Okay? As we move through Module 4, we'll give you a roadmap to say, like, here's where we're going. We talked about this early on, that, like, from here to the summit isn't up and to the right. It's winding roads, it's shadows, it's going down to go up. We'll have some mile markers along the way, some check engine lights to say, like, what's going on in your family? How does this work? You enroll in my course. We do the check engine lights automatically in our weekly coaching calls to say, like, what's going well and what is not, and how do we help each other, encourage each other, and hold each other accountable. We'll define love in this next few weeks. We will talk about the importance of tension within your family and how to learn with, like, how to embrace it, not to avoid it, not to break it, but to just live with tension. We'll teach you a few other things. One of my favorite things that we talk about is the coming home reset. And what is that? It helps equip and empower you to leave all the crap and stress of work at work, so that when you come home and you show up with your kids for that second time well spent moment of the day, you are ready to just engage with them and be with them. Emergency confetti, I'll just plant that seed. Emergency confetti is a fantastic way to build connection and memory, and we'll cover that when we get there. So I hope today is a helpful, a kind of hope-filled way of going, I want to tune in for the next few episodes and keep understanding, what does it look like to be an intentional parent? What does it look like to be the dad that my kids need? And we will give you very specific ways of operating your family, of building into your schedule, ways to connect with your kids and cast this vision, not just for them, but with them, about what kind of family do we have? What kind of family do we want to be a part of? And so as you leave today, I want you to be thinking about this question and pose it to your kids and your spouse. Say this: what kind of family would I love to say I'm a part of? Would I be proud to say I'm a part of? A family that serves, a family that goes on adventure, a family that does whatever. Dogs barking. Fill in the blank. What kind of family do we want to have? Find out, and then let's go create it. See you in the next episode.